everyone. Welcome to another mental health mini, and for me, a particularly special one today. Normally, I ask the guest for a little intro from themselves so I can do it, but today is Leon Mckenzie, who, for me, Norwich legend, boxing legend, and mental health speaker. I am so incredibly grateful to have you along for this, Leon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. So, as always with these, we kind of go with three questions and get your thoughts on them. So, tell us about your experience, what your advice might be to someone, and what do you do on a day-to-day basis to help yourself. Obviously, Leon,
Sure.
you've been very, very open about your history. You've written it in your autobiography. You've talked a lot about it, and obviously, you promote mental health worldwide. So, for those that may not know, talk about your experiences with us, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So my experiences go back to sort of childhood, really. So as years have gone on, and as you know, I've had a 18-year football career. Then I've gone into professional boxing thereafter. I think as I was going through life, there were certain things that I didn't understand. So when you are maybe going through some mental health issues, whether that be depression, anxiety, or whatever it may fall into, if you're never really kind of experienced those emotions and thoughts and feelings and all that's going on in your life, sometimes things can be a little bit of a shock, and you can go into a little bit of a shell when you've not got that right education around it. I only started understanding maybe where things were at when I started having my own therapy, getting right into the depth of my childhood and things that have happened in my childhood to therefore put me into a bit of a depressive anxiety sort of just very delicate, vulnerable young man, but also playing elite level sport. So I understood that, well, I can't really show, back when I was playing, it would be seen as weakness to be sort of speaking so vulnerable about the topics that a lot of us speak about today. So through education, I had to really understand what depression was, what anxiety is, why do I sort of suffer more than maybe someone that doesn't. And there was so many things that I had to sort of put together and educate the surroundings around. Football didn't teach me how to deal with divorce. Football didn't teach me how to deal with injuries, and so many things, even from leaving the game and retiring. Football just didn't give me that support network in terms of my mind, especially when I was playing. And that's the actual reality of it. And that's why ever since I did retire officially, after trying to take my own life, when I ended up at Norwich for ended up at Charlton for a season, I really lost my whole identity. I lost my whole being, and I think that's one of the things which most athletes, which I do a lot of work on with now, struggle with, and that's the identity, and an identity of when it's all finished and it's all over, it's like, who am I now? And to try and understand that identity, I found it very hard to, well, I'm not playing football anymore, and I don't actually know I don't know who I am anymore. So that affected a lot, just to kind of take on and what the mind does. And like you say, life doesn't prepare us for certain things that happen, circumstances wise. No one really prepares for our own journeys that we all go through. Everyone's got a trigger. So your trigger will be different to mine, but we've all got that breaking point. We've all, our minds are so delicate yet so powerful. But the reality is that we've got to, start taking care of ourselves, or start taking care of our minds, and continuing to educate everyone. It's a very serious topic that we find ourselves having to speak about now. It worked for some people, it doesn't work for others, but I will continue to speak, trying to save lives. You know, there's suicide is the biggest killer within men, uh, and that still stands today. So you know, I do my best to try and pass on my experiences, and really try and get to grips of what's truly going on in you know, in one's journey. In my journey, I've taken care of a few things, to help my mind and to do the right things, therapy being one of them, speaking and helping. But you know, like you say, to answer the other question, what I would do from a sort of a day-to-day basis, routine wise, I always try and sort of tick over fitness wise. So I always try and look after myself the best way I can. But sometimes I actually can't do it.
Yeah.
And I've been an athlete all my life, but sometimes I will have some days where I'm exhausted, I'm drained, and I'm mentally struggling for whatever reason it is. But it can sometimes be that way, and I don't have all the answers still to why I can feel sad, or why I can feel, you know, such a empty kind of feeling that is really challenging me. That is my fight, day in, day out. You know, my there is times where I can't move. There's times where I struggle. Um, and it's not because I'm ungrateful and I'm not appreciative of the careers I've had, and you know, I've got amazing, beautiful children that are my power to why I do get up every day and try. Um, it's all about trying for me. It's all about fighting it. It's all about knowing that, okay, I don't feel good, but you know what? Even if I go for a walk, even if I just try and have the conversation with someone that will listen and understand, I think they're the best solutions for, to, you know, to start the process of just understanding where you're at.
Yeah, and you're absolutely. So I want to pick up kind of on three things you said. Firstly, you're right that we don't. We've got a lot better in terms of the education that is around mental well-being, but there is still a long way to go. And you said something that kind of resonates with me, that it sounds like every day is a battle, but as long as you've got something that you can focus on to keep going, for you, maybe your children, or it may be something to do with your career, but especially sounds like you with your children, it enables you to find that one thing to keep going.
Correct.
Um,
That is the key, right? So, you know, like I say, I don't. I work. I do a bit for Talk Sport. I do a bit of mentoring for Crystal Palace under 18s. I do some speaking stuff. I do a lot of things. You if you sort of watch my life
yeah,
a little bit, you'd be like, how do you even do it all? But I do a lot of things for a reason, to try and keep busy. I always find that the moment I do really sort of slow down, and I kind of go through the motions a little bit, and I'm not really pushing like my, you know, like I have the ability to generally push, which I've done all my life. The moment I stop those little things, that's when I fall into a bit of a slump.
Um, Jumping back to something, so obviously in your autobiography, and something you've spoken about just now, is at Charlton, you kind of were reaching the end of your footballing career, and obviously have spoken about trying to go back to a hotel room and ending your life. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, because unfortunately you also, while at Norwich specifically, and maybe at other clubs, I'm not sure, you had some injuries that kind of curtailed your career a little bit and slowed it down. We've had Di Green on, the hurdler, who said that him at his height, when he had some injuries, he really struggled with. There's
Yeah,
there's obviously the end of your career, but when you're at your peak of your career and you get those injuries, how does that feel about not being able to do the thing that you're good at every day?
yeah. You only have to see the way I play and how I really expressed myself on the pitch to really know that it meant a lot to me. Just trying to do the best I could, whatever team I was playing for.
Yeah.
Um, even when I wasn't really, maybe it wasn't really going too well in certain games. But I can tell you this for free: you're gonna know I'm on the pitch. Do you see what I mean? So um, when you, if you see the way I score goals, because everything I've done, uh, I know what I've done to get to where I've got to, and that's why I show such emotion when I scored goals, because I knew all the work that has put in to get to that point. I don't just wake up and score goals. So when you love doing that, and you love it so much that it's very clear in the actions, and when that's taken away from you and you don't have control of what you do love and you've done all your life, day in, day out, and then it's taken away without you controlling that, it psychologically damaged me. I noticed more so when I was at Norwich, although I never, how the little fan sites and things that they have, also everyone's so, you know, can get on the social networks and everything now. Um, but unfortunately, there's some very, very shallow, ignorant, just not nice people in the world, and to make jokes of things that where you know make up things of training ground incidents, and say Leon's in a mental home, and I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. I was never in a mental home in Norwich. I've
No,
never been in a mental home in my life. But the point of someone actually going out of the way to start those kinds of rumors when no one really knows what I'm really truly going through,
no,
like
and no
I'm
one will
I'm in a
apart from
my
yourself.
my mind is breaking down, and I'm having to go through a lot of things, personal things as well. But yeah, I found some things really, really hard, and it was just I found it incredible how you know the empathy factor of it all. Like, do you know and realize what I'm going through, injury after injury? Like, I don't think you do, because if you knew, you wouldn't be really making jokes.
No, and especially when it comes to mental well-being, I mean, there it's making jokes targeted at someone is just it can be so much worse for them if they find out and they're already going through something and it just piles on top of them. I think obviously I've always wanted to keep these shortly on. I'm massively grateful for you doing this for us, and as I keep saying, you're very open, and a lot of the work you do, I'm sure a number of people will be very grateful. You'll have helped a lot of them. I think what I'd like to ask you is if you could give one piece of advice to someone that's going through, whether they're an elite sportsman or just someone that does a job to get by, whatever they're doing, if you could give one piece of advice to them, what would it be?
Well, first and foremost, it's very easy to say don't give up, right? We always hear that, okay, don't give up. But I don't know what that person's actually feeling or going through. I do know what I went through
Yeah.
when I was close to giving up on life. And I always say this: when I was close to giving up on life, and fortunately I was not successful in doing that, now I have another chance to live. Now I have another chance to see my children grow. Now I have another chance to experience other things that I never experienced in life anyway, up to this stage. So for me, David, I think it's it's very simple, to the point of I never knew that my life would change dramatically again after my suicide attempt. So even that, there's one part of my journey where it's like I don't want to be here anymore, because I actually think life would be better off without me. And then there's another situation now where if I would have looked back and I would have been on my hospital bed talking to Leon Mckenzie, who just tried to take his own life, and I would have said to him, "Do you realize that within about a year you're going to become a professional boxer and win titles? You're going to have a show on Talksport, actually helping athletes. You're going to be a mental health ambassador. You're going to have a documentary film that's going to literally go worldwide any moment now in 2022, I would have looked at him like he was crazy. But when you are actually in that place, you don't actually realize actually how near you are to actually becoming great and stronger than you've ever been. You've just got to get through that storm, because the storm doesn't last. Your heart will always win if you try. That's my advice.
I think that's a great sentiment because it's basically saying, yeah, you're looking forward, you can see all this bad stuff, it's not great, but you have no idea of the good stuff that's coming your way as well, and there will be.
Correct. Yep, that's what you hold on to. That's where you find your hope.
Well, it's a lovely place to end the interview because I think it's a great sentiment and it's very true. Leon, thank you so much for taking the time for us today.
No
Um,
problem at all. No problem at all.
keep up the great work, and I look forward to watching it and everything that you do. So,
Yeah, no, listen, I'd love to. I don't ever get invited back for whatever reason, but I'm always sending my love. I know the club's going through whatever it's going through at the moment, but send my love to everyone, and yeah, hopefully things start picking up.
well, from my point of view, and anyone that remembers the couple of years that the time that you played for us, including the Man United game, will remember you fondly. So there's no doubt you'll be
Uh,
remembered by
all,
everyone from certainly my era.
all good. No, much appreciated.
All right, thank you so much,
Uh,
Leon. Take
no
care.
problem, mate. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.
Bye.